How far can the obsession with beauty and youth can go? The example of this we are seeing in the United States of America, where many women obsessed with having an hourglass figure are trying a procedure which would have thought been possible before. For example, a new method of injecting fat from dead body has become a recent trend. So is it legal, ethical, or we have crossed line we were never meant to cross before? Let us try to understand and examine this in more detail. So first of all, to give you an idea about this entire topic, if you look at the context of this topic, extreme cosmetic procedures are these days being followed by many women, especially in the United States of America, where we are seeing anti-aging obsession-led trend. And recently, cadaver fat injections, as it is referred as, has become a new addition. Before, we have several other similar kind of procedures, whether it is liposuction, whether it is related to Ozempic, taking injections of Ozempic, or whether it is related to invasive surgical procedure. Now, in this, a new trend has been added. Now, if you try to understand about this, the company which is spearheading this particular trend is called as Tiger Aesthetics, and Tiger Aesthetics has come with a product. That product is called as Alocli. So what is Alocli? If you try to understand, Alocli is basically a fat filler which has been derived from cadaver. Cadaver, as you know, is the dead remains of individual. It can be from man, it can be from women, and as you know that every body has fat, similarly fat is derived from this dead body, and this fat is then branded as Alocli and then sold by this particular company as such. Soft tissue augmentation is where we have seen this particular procedure being followed to a great detail. Now, how the procedure works? Simple. The same way earlier, if you try to understand how augmentation of body was done, so fat was taken from the same individual from some different body part and then was surgically put in some other body part. So here what is different? Different is that now fat is not being taken from the same individual on which the cosmetic procedure is being carried out. It is being taken from the deceased, that means dead donors. After the fat is extracted from the dead body, it is sterilized and purified, and then the company prepares what it called as a cellular fat matrix. Now, what is a cellular fat matrix? We know that every we can say every organ or every tissue that you have in your body contains cell. So similarly, fat tissue also contains cell. But if the cell ridden or cell carrying tissue is transported, or we can say is surgically placed in some other body, there will be strong immune reaction and this fat can be rejected. That is why scientists remove the cell from the fat matrix, and only other constituent of the fat such as collagen and all is being put under the Alocli. It is created as an injectable filler, and after that it can simply be injected wherever the person is trying to have augmentation. The main usage of this is the breast augmentation, buttock enhancement, hip contouring, as well as the shaping or reshaping of body. Because we have seen a trend emerging here where women especially are trying to get hourglass figure, and that is why they are going for this particular approach as such. Now the question is, why demand is rising? Several experts have weighed on their opinion, and they have stated that post-weight loss bodies, people who have experienced this, Ozempic and Mounjaro users who have shedded drastically their weight, as we have seen being taken by many celebrities these days also, this Ozempic drug has become very popular. After that, low body fat patients, because as we have discussed earlier, fat was taken from suppose that legs and hips and were put on the upper body part. So now it is no longer possible, because a person himself has very low body fat, it cannot be taken from him, and that is why minimally invasive option that has emerged under this particular Alocli injectable filler also has created a big upsurge of demand. Procedure details, if you look, it was first of all, again, it is a new trend introduced first in the year 2024 itself, and after the successful trial of clinic-based injection, now it is being marketized and being used by many people all across the United States of America. The biggest advantage which has attracted many users to go through this process is the lack of general anesthesia, because earlier process needed surgical operation, and surgery cannot be carried out without anesthesia. But here we can see within just 1 hour duration, a person can get the desired body as he or she wants, and that also has attracted a lot of people in this particular area as such. Cost factor, however, obviously is there, because it is not for general public. If you try to understand, the cosmetic treatment through Alocli is very, very high cost. It cost anywhere between $10,000 to $100,000, that in the rupee equivalent will be about 9 to 90 lakh rupees approximately. It obviously depends on how much fat a person want to basically have in her body as such. So volume dependency we have here. And if we try to understand here the expert opinions, what is the expert's opinion? How, to what extent we can consider this to be ethical in nature? So first, if you talk about those people who are supporting it, they are saying it that it is off the shelf fat graft kind of thing. That means anyway, dead bodies are donated by many people who feel that it will be used for the medical sciences, it will be used for the welfare of science as such. So those dead bodies are equated with off the shelf fat that is available to the cosmetologists, available to plastic surgeons, and that is being grafted to the desired, we can say, individual as such. Also, it has emerged as a good alternative to liposuction. Liposuction is a term that is generally used when a person undergoes a surgery. Fat is drastically removed from some other, some part as such. Largely, it is used as a way of treating what we call as the obesity-like conditions, especially if person is at risk of developing cardiovascular diseases. Then third, less downtime, because earlier methods, as we have discussed, require expensive surgery, long duration surgery. General anesthesia was person was subjected to general anesthesia, and that is why he or she would have to take some time off from work. And that is why downtime was there. That means they have to go through recovery phase and they could not work, they could not do anything on those particular time. That was also acting as inhibiting factor. But in the case of alloclay, there is less downtime. Within an hour, you'll get the desired result. You can go out and then can start working and living your life normally as you would do. And the most important, because people are also fearful of surgery, there is always a complications. Many people are even, we can say, show reaction against anesthesia, causing shock and death as well. So because here surgery is not involved, many people are trying to use this as a method of boosting their body as such. Now, the other point we have to understand is obviously there is a medical risk. No procedure, no cosmetic procedure is without medical risk. So this seems a very high cost or expensive but low risk method, but there is a definite medical risk involved. What kind of medical risk? So experts and doctors stated there is a possibility of fat necrosis. Fat necrosis basically refer to the death of fat in a certain part of body. So in many cases we have seen when the fat is taken from some other body, especially in this case from cadaver, and then is injected to some third person. In that case, many times what happens, the fat cells, as we have discussed, it is a cellular fat matrix. So for this fat tissue to survive, cell from the body of the recipient should migrate and start propagating there. But many times due to certain regions, it does not take place and there is a fat death, and again by surgery it has to be removed. Second, obviously, is there is a risk of infection. Third is something that is called as fat embolism, which can be very, very fatal in nature. Fat embolism, or before if you try to look at the term embolism itself, it simply means that when the fat cells are there, they are moving in the blood vessel. Many times what happens is that during injection of these fats, sometimes they are injected inside the bloodstream also, blood vessel also, and they can cause the choking of blood vessel, and that is why there will be rupture of blood vessel, and that can result into lung damage and even damage to the heart as such. That in the many situations could lead to death of the recipient. So there is a very clear chance or very we can say risk of fat embolism. And imaging complications also is one thing, because especially in the case of breast augmentation, many times mammography is conducted in later period of life to examine people for the breast cancer. So many doctors believe that in the cases where breast has been augmented by taking fat from cadaver, imaging would not be very clear and the risk of breast cancer would be difficult to examine as such. So these are definite medical risks. Now the biggest question that is being raised by many people is about the ethical concern, whether such kind of fat extracted from a dead body, cadaver, is being injected into a live person, and not only for prolonging the life of a person, not for the medical, we can say, life-saving condition, but for the cosmetic procedures only. So is it ethical use of human remains, and to what extent are we considering here donor consent? Because the person who many times also might have donated his or her body for the welfare of people, for to be studied for the scientific purposes, medical purposes, has he or she given the consent that his body part, fat in this case, can be used for cosmetic surgery, can be used for augmentation of body parts and all? So there is definitely a debate going on between the cosmetic versus the medical use of body parts. Medical use obviously can be permitted, it is of general welfare, but cosmetic use is something optional, and there is obviously ethical dilemma that seems to be coming into play here. So ethical sourcing, many of the experts and doctors have argued here that it is ethical in nature because we are sourcing it from the dead body, and that is why it is a kind of, anyway dead body is given to the scientific community, it is going to be wasted anyway, and that is why it is being used for cosmetic procedure. But obviously there is a debate that whether medical issues or uses should be permitted, or whether cosmetic use should also be permitted in this case. So that's the debate, and that's all for this particular video. If you like the video, share it to your aspirants as well as subscribe to the channel for more such content. Thank you very much.